What am? When we talk about the winner's mindset, the very foundation begins with belief. Not belief in a vague abstract sense, but belief as the inner architecture of who we become. The truth is, what am? Our outer circumstances are only mirrors of our inner state. Two people can be placed in the exact same condition, facing the same setbacks, the same lack of resources, the same rejection, and yet one will rise while the other collapses. The difference is never the condition. The difference is the story they tell themselves about what the condition means. A winner understands that reality is not something that happens to them. It is something they interpret, filter. What and ultimately create. Think about it. Every decision you make is shaped by what you believe is possible. If deep down you believe you are limited, you will unconsciously choose paths that keep you small. But if you believe you are capable, resilient, and worthy of more, then even in the middle of struggle, you will find doors where others see walls. The science of the mind tells us that belief literally rewires the brain. Neural pathways that fire repeatedly become stronger. And the beliefs you hold most firmly are the ones that dominate your perception. If you constantly feed yourself thoughts of lack, of fear, of impossibility, your brain will filter reality in ways that confirm that story. What you'll miss opportunities because you aren't even looking for them. But when you deliberately cultivate empowering beliefs of strength, of potential, of inevitability, your brain begins to notice what aligns with that vision. You see possibilities you once overlooked. You attract relationships, resources, and ideas that match the frequency of your belief. This is why winners don't just rely on the outer world to tell them who they are. They don't wait for approval, or validation, or even evidence of success before they decide to believe in themselves. They decide first, what am? And then reality catches up. It's an inversion of how most people live. Most live by the law of effect. When I see it, I'll believe it. But a winner flips that script. When I believe it, I will see it. That single shift creates a radically different life trajectory. Now, this doesn't mean belief alone is enough. Belief without action is fantasy, but belief is the seed without which no action will sustain itself. Imagine trying to pursue a goal while secretly believing you cannot achieve it. What every setback becomes proof that you're right. Every delay confirms your inner doubts. You sabotage yourself without even knowing it. Because your subconscious mind is wired to align with your deepest convictions. On the other hand, when your belief is firm, setbacks don't crush you. They fuel you. They sharpen your focus. They become evidence, not of your weakness, but of the strength you're developing in the process. Winners train their minds in the same way an athlete trains their body. They monitor their inner dialogue. They guard their attention. They discipline themselves to redirect negative, limiting thoughts and replace them with a vision of what they truly want. This is not about denial of reality. It is about creating a new reality by first commanding the mind. Because the mind is always creating, either consciously or unconsciously. The question is, what are you choosing to create? Consider how many people live in prisons built entirely by thought. They may have talent, resources, or even opportunities, but they are shackled by an inner voice that says, I'm not good enough. I'm not ready. I can't do this. And so they never try, or they quit before they've even begun. The winner, however, hears those same voices, Because let's be honest, we all do. But they refuse to let those voices dictate the outcome. They challenge them. They replace them. What am? They choose a narrative that serves them rather than enslaves them. This is why belief is more than positive thinking. It is an act of inner leadership. What am? It is the decision to stand guard at the doorway of your mind and allow only those thoughts that align with the life you intend to build. It requires courage because it often means believing in a future that no one else can see yet. But that's what makes it powerful. Every breakthrough in history, every invention, every transformation began with someone daring to believe in something unseen. So when I say that the winner's mindset begins with belief, I am not speaking about wishful thinking. I am speaking about the conscious, disciplined act of creating a new internal reality that eventually reshapes the external. Circumstances may be hard. People may doubt you. The path may be uncertain. But none of those things hold the final word. Belief does. What am? And here is the truth worth remembering: you are always one belief away from a new version of yourself. One decision to see yourself differently, one commitment to hold a higher vision of your potential, and your entire reality can begin to shift. So I leave you with this question: what belief are you willing to adopt today that would make the future you desire inevitable? Because the moment you truly decide to align your belief with your vision, what you have already taken the first step toward victory. If belief is the foundation of the winner's mindset, then discipline is the structure that rises from it. Desire without discipline is like a vision without execution. Remains a dream, inspiring, but incomplete. Winners understand this distinction. They know that while desire ignites the fire, it is discipline that keeps the flame alive long after motivation has burned out. Think about how most people operate. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for the perfect conditions. They wait until they feel like it. But life doesn't bend to feelings. Success does not wait for moods. Winners know this, and that is why they choose discipline over emotion. Discipline is the quiet power of doing what needs to be done, regardless of whether you want to or not. It is the bridge between the vision in your mind and the reality you live. Consider the psychology behind this. Our brains are wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. Left unchecked, the mind will always choose the path of least resistance. But growth never happens on that path. Discipline, then, what is the conscious override of that programming. It is choosing to lean into discomfort because you understand that discomfort is the very soil from which strength and mastery grow. Every act of discipline rewires the brain, teaching it that you, not your impulses, are in control. Discipline is not about punishment or restriction. It is about alignment. It is the daily act of aligning your behaviors with your higher vision. When you practice discipline, you are essentially telling yourself, my future matters more than my temporary comfort. My long-term vision outweighs my short-term mood. That declaration, repeated through consistent action, reshapes not only your results but your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone capable, someone trustworthy, someone unstoppable. And this is important: discipline compounds. A single act of discipline may feel small in the moment. Waking up when you said you would, sticking to your workout, focusing on your craft, refusing the distraction. But each act strengthens the muscle of self-mastery. Over time, those small acts build momentum. They form habits, And those habits form character. Winners are not born disciplined. They become disciplined through countless small choices repeated with intention. The difference between those who win and those who fall short is often not talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is consistency. A talented person without discipline wastes potential. An intelligent person without discipline squanders ideas. An ambitious person without discipline remains stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. But a disciplined person, even with average talent, can outlast and outperform almost anyone. Why? Because discipline ensures continuity, and continuity creates mastery. Now, let's acknowledge something here. Discipline is rarely glamorous. It is often invisible. The hours of practice, the repetitions, the sacrifices, these happen in private, long before the results are visible in public. Winners embrace this reality. They don't need applause at every step. They are not addicted to instant gratification. They understand that discipline is the slow, steady builder of momentum, and that momentum, once strong enough, is unstoppable. There is also a spiritual dimension to discipline. To be disciplined is to live in integrity with yourself. It means your actions are congruent with your values and your vision. This internal congruence creates a sense of power and certainty. You begin to trust yourself, because you no longer break the promises you make to yourself, and that self-trust becomes the bedrock of confidence. After all, how can you expect to win in the outer world if you cannot first keep commitments in your inner world? When you look at the great achievers of history, athletes, leaders, innovators, you will always find discipline at the core of their success. It wasn't that they never felt doubt or fear or fatigue. They did, but they had trained themselves not to surrender to those feelings. They acted anyway. They built rituals, systems, and habits that carried them forward even when their emotions resisted. That is what separated them. They didn't wait to feel ready. They acted, and readiness caught up later. This is the essence of the winner's mindset. Discipline transforms desire into achievement. It turns inspiration into incarnation. It turns a dream into something tangible, measurable, real. Without discipline, the best ideas remain just ideas. With discipline, even the smallest vision can grow into something extraordinary. So when you think about your own journey, ask yourself, where am I relying on motivation instead of discipline? Where am I waiting to feel ready instead of committing to action? Because the truth is, winners don't wait, they decide to act consistently, and in that decision, they gain an advantage that compounds every single day. And here is the paradox of discipline. What feels like restriction in the beginning becomes freedom in the end. Freedom to live with purpose. Freedom to enjoy the results of consistent effort. Freedom to become the person you always knew you could be. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up again and again. Even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching. And that persistence over time, creates a life that others call extraordinary. But was simply the result of disciplined choices repeated day after day. So remember this, desire sets the direction, but discipline walks the path. And only those willing to walk the path, step by disciplined step, will ever arrive at the destination they once imagined. If belief is the foundation and discipline is the structure, then setbacks are the tests that determine whether that structure can endure. Every winner knows this truth Am. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is woven into the very fabric of it. Am. The difference lies not in whether you encounter obstacles. You will. But in how you interpret and respond to them. Am. Most people see setbacks as proof that they are not meant to succeed. They encounter rejection, delay, or loss. Am. And they internalize it as evidence that their dream is impossible. Am. But the winner's mindset reframes these very same experiences as feedback, as data, as opportunities to refine the approach. In fact, a winner comes to expect setbacks, not as punishments, but as necessary components of growth. Think of it like this, every setback is a mirror reflecting where you still need to grow. If your patience is tested, it's because patience must be strengthened. If your strategy fails, it's because your creativity must expand. If you are rejected, it's because your resilience must deepen. What feels like resistance is actually training. What am? The universe, life, or whatever name you give it, is not blocking you. It is shaping you into someone capable of sustaining the very success you desire. Psychologically, this process is essential. Neuroscience shows us that the brain learns most rapidly in moments of error. When something doesn't work, the brain fires in ways that allow it to adapt, to try new patterns, to seek new solutions. If you never fail, you never stretch. If you never encounter resistance, you never develop resilience. Winners understand this deeply. They do not avoid failure, they engage with it. What they study it and they use it to their advantage. Think of some of the greatest innovators in history. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That statement is not just clever. It reflects a profound mindset. He reframed failure as data, as a stepping stone. Without that reframing, we may never have had the light bulb. Or consider elite athletes. They don't become champions by winning every match. They become champions by losing by reviewing those losses, and by adjusting their training until weakness becomes strength. The average person views a setback as a wall. The winner sees it as a door disguised as a wall. It may require effort, creativity, and persistence to open, but it leads to new levels of growth that comfort could never provide. In this way, setbacks are not interruptions of the path. They are the path. Now, let's be clear. Turning setbacks into strategic advantages does not mean pretending that pain doesn't exist. Loss hurts. Failure stings. Rejection wounds. Winners don't deny this. They allow themselves to feel it. But they do not stay there. They don't build a home in disappointment. They use that pain as fuel, as energy to drive them forward. What stops most people is not the setback itself, but the story they attach to it. Winners choose a story that empowers them rather than one that imprisons them. This is why resilience is one of the defining qualities of the winner's mindset. Resilience is not about never breaking. It is about the learning how to bend and return stronger. Every time you recover from a setback, you reinforce a deeper truth, that you are capable of enduring more than you thought. That recognition builds confidence. And confidence, once earned through adversity, cannot be taken away. There is also a strategic element here. Winners don't just emotionally recover from setbacks, they analyze them. They ask, what can this teach me? How can I use this to refine my process? A setback becomes not a dead end, but a source of intelligence. This mindset transforms obstacles into assets. While others quit in frustration, winners emerge with insights that give them an edge. It is worth reflecting on how many dreams die not because they were impossible, but because someone interpreted a single setback as final. How many people stopped after one rejection, one failure, one delay? Yet history shows us that the people who ultimately win are not the ones who never stumble. They are the ones who refuse to stop stumbling forward. So the real question is not whether you will fail, you will. The real question is, what will you do with that failure? Will you let it define you, or will you let it refine you? Will you use it as a reason to quit or will you use it as evidence that you are on the path of growth? Winners know the answer. They know that every setback is secretly a stepping stone. They know that the pain of today is the preparation for tomorrow. And they know that victory does not belong to those who never fall, but to those who rise every single time they do. So when you encounter your next setback, and you will, remember this, it is not the end of the road. It is the forge where strength is built, wisdom is earned, and resilience is born. The setback is not your enemy. It is your ally disguised in difficulty. And perhaps that is the ultimate lesson. The winner's mindset is not about avoiding hardship. It is about transforming hardship into power. The question is never, will I face obstacles? The question is always, how will I use them? And the answer to that question determines whether you stop short or rise to greatness. There is a crucial difference between those who remain stuck in cycles of repetition and those who rise into a life of extraordinary achievement. The difference lies in whether they live from memory or from vision. Most people unknowingly live by memory. They wake up each day carrying the weight of yesterday's experiences, yesterday's failures, yesterday's doubts. Their choices are governed by the past. And so their future ends up looking like a slightly modified version of what has already been lived. The winner, however, refuses to be confined by memory. They understand that memory is useful for learning but it is not meant to be a prison. Living by memory means allowing old fears, old limitations, and old patterns to dictate your present. Living by vision means projecting yourself into a future reality that does not yet exist and then aligning your actions today with that future self. This is not fantasy. This is conscious creation. From a psychological standpoint, memory is the brain's way of storing survival information. It holds onto pain and failure to prevent us from repeating mistakes. But this same mechanism can keep us trapped. The brain cannot distinguish between a past failure that no longer matters and a present danger unless you consciously redirect it. This is where vision becomes so powerful. Vision gives the brain a new map to follow. It allows you to anticipate, to imagine, to act as if the future you desire is already unfolding. And the brain, when consistently directed by vision, begins to rewire itself to bring that future into reality. Winners understand this process intimately. They don't let their past dictate who they are becoming. Instead, they ask, do I want to be 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? They create such a vivid picture of that future that it pulls them forward like a magnet. And then they begin to act in alignment with that image. Not someday, not when conditions are perfect, but now. This is the power of vision over memory. Memory is reactive. Vision is proactive. Memory chains you to what has been. Vision liberates you into what can be. When you operate from vision, you step into a creative role. You become an author of your story instead of a character trapped in someone else's script. Am. Consider how many people allow memory to keep them small. They tried once and failed, so they never try again. What am? They were told as children they weren't good enough, so they live their entire lives replaying that limitation. Am. They experienced rejection once, so they shield themselves from opportunities forever. Am. But the winner refuses to be imprisoned by those narratives. Am. They understand that the past is not a prophecy. It is only a lesson. Am. And they take the lesson while discarding the chains. Philosophically, this is what separates mediocrity from greatness. Am. Mediocrity is the repetition of memory. Greatness is the embodiment of vision. Am. And vision is not limited to external achievements. It is about who you decide to become. Am. A winner holds a vision of themselves as stronger, wiser, more resilient, more capable than they were yesterday. Am. And that vision becomes the standard by which they live. Now, let's make this practical. Am. To live from vision means to ask yourself daily, am. What would the future version of me do today? If your vision is to be healthy, what am? The future version of you chooses nourishing food and consistent exercise. If your vision is to be financially free, what am? The future version of you practices discipline with money today. If your vision is to impact others, am. The future version of you speaks, writes, and acts with courage today. The vision informs the present, and in doing so, the present becomes the seed of that future. This is not about ignoring memory entirely. Memory is a teacher, and you want to feel like what am, but vision is the leader. Memory can show you where you've been, but vision must determine where you are going. What am? Winners know this balance. They honor the past, but refuse to repeat it. Am. They carry wisdom from experience, but do not allow old pain to dictate new possibility. And here's the profound shift. Am. When you begin to live by vision, your life accelerates. Why? Am. Because most people are simply reacting to what has already happened. Am. While you are proactively creating what is about to happen, that gives you an edge. It gives you momentum. Am. It gives you clarity in a world clouded by distraction. So ask yourself, are you living today by memory? What am? Repeating cycles you already know. Or are you living by vision, pulling yourself into a future that excites you? Am. Because only one of those paths leads to transformation. Am. The winner's mindset is not about waiting for proof before believing. Am. It is about choosing a vision so compelling that it shapes your beliefs, directs your discipline. Am. And transforms your setbacks into stepping stones. That vision becomes your compass, your fuel, your guide. Am. And here is the truth worth holding on to. Memory explains you, but vision expands you. If you live by memory, am, you repeat. If you live by vision, you evolve. So I leave you with this dare to live from the future. What am, not from the past. Dare to act today as if the life you desire is already unfolding. Am, because the moment you stop living by memory and start living by vision, what am? You stop being a prisoner of circumstance and start becoming the architect of destiny.